The security footage would show it all. A black man in scuffed sneakers, stepping through the doors of Madison's exclusive boutique. 15 minutes later, he would be humiliated, broadcast live, and banned for life. 24 hours after that, the store would be permanently out of business. It all began at 2:47 p.m., the moment Marcus Johnson pushed his way into the Rodeo Drive establishment. His faded jeans and hoodie immediately drew contemptuous stares from clients draped in silk. The store manager, Sarah, was already whispering urgently to security as Marcus headed for the watch counter. He was 34, and his dressed-down appearance was entirely intentional today. His backpack was slung over one shoulder, and car keys jingled softly in his pocket. Emma Rodriguez, a sales associate, completely ignored his presence, focusing all her attention on an elderly white woman. Nearby, other shoppers were already reaching for their phones. The first recording started. An Instagram story popped up with the caption, "Drama brewing at Madison's." Have you ever entered a place and felt, in an instant, that you were utterly unwelcome? A place where your very existence sparked whispers and snap judgments? Marcus believed he had prepared himself for what was about to unfold. He was wrong. This is one of those real-world accounts that illustrates how racial discrimination continues to be a daily reality. A poignant story that compels us to confront our own biases. Marcus glanced down at his phone. The display showed 2:48 p.m. That gave him exactly 12 minutes to make his 3 o'clock appointment. This had to be fast. The boutique, meanwhile, glittered under the glow of crystal chandeliers. Hermes scarves cascaded from elegant displays, while a Patek Philippe watch collection gleamed behind reinforced glass. Price tags displayed numbers that could easily purchase a luxury vehicle. The air itself smelled of high-end leather and faint, expensive perfume. Marcus approached the watch display, his own reflection looking back at him from the polished glass, as he studied a Philippe Nautilus model. The price was listed at $85,000. He pulled out his phone to look up the specifications, and as he did, something slipped partway out of his pocket. The unmistakable edge of a first-class boarding pass to Tokyo. The departure gate was clearly visible. Emma Rodriguez was standing just 3 feet from him, helping the elderly customer choose between pearl necklaces that cost more than most people earn in a year. She shot a look at Marcus, her eyes scanning his casual clothes, before she deliberately turned her shoulder to him. The signal was unmistakable. Marcus continued to wait. He scrolled through his phone, and anyone paying close attention might have spotted the high-end car keys clipped to his belt loop. A Bentley logo briefly caught the light. His backpack, though it looked worn, featured a subtle Hermes leather tag that few would ever recognize. "Excuse me," Marcus said politely, the second Emma finished with her previous customer. Emma made a point of not turning around, busying herself by slowly rearranging jewelry, forcing Marcus to wait. At last, she pivoted, her arms crossed and eyebrows raised. "Yes?" Her tone was laced with the weariness of a deep sigh. "I would like to take a look at that Patek Philippe, please," Marcus requested, indicating the watch he had been studying. Emma's expression twisted from boredom into sheer disbelief. She actually let out a laugh, a short, harsh sound that turned the heads of other customers. "Sir, that is well outside of your price range. I suggest you try the mall down the street." Her words seemed to poison the perfumed air. More shoppers had now turned to stare. Someone else discreetly raised their phone to record. Marcus, however, maintained his calm. "I'm fully aware of the price. I would still like to see it." Emma caught the eye of another sales associate across the boutique. That woman gave a tiny shake of her head before getting back to a well-dressed couple looking at diamond earrings. "Those watches begin at $85,000, Emma articulated slowly, as though speaking to a small child. "Do you grasp what that means?" "I understand numbers just fine," Marcus replied, his voice perfectly even. His phone buzzed. The screen lit up with a text from a contact named Board Meeting, with the message, "Move to 315, still in conference room B." Marcus silenced his phone right away, but the message had been visible to anyone watching. Emma noticed his expensive carbon fiber phone case, which appeared to have a company logo on it. She frowned, a hint of uncertainty finally showing in her eyes. But she was too deep in her assumption to back down now. Sir, I truly believe you'll find our vintage collection more to your liking. We have some very nice watches for under $5,000. I'm interested in the Patek Philippe, Marcus stated again. Security guard Mike Torres had been observing the entire interaction from his post near the entrance. He was an ex-cop, trained to read people in developing situations. Something about this whole scene was setting him on edge, but he couldn't put his finger on why. The black customer was composed, even polite. Emma's body language, however, was screaming trouble. Marcus looked at his phone once more. 2:51 p.m. 9 minutes to go. A teenager standing near the handbag section had just started a live stream on TikTok. Her account name was Rodeo Watcher, and she had a small following of Beverly Hills gossip junkies. Something is going down at Madison's. Murmuring into her phone, she says, "This is getting so weird." The live stream, which started with just 47 viewers, is now climbing fast as people begin sharing it. From her post behind the main counter, Emma's supervisor, Sarah, was watching the scene gather more and more attention. After 15 years managing luxury retail, she had developed a sixth sense for situations about to boil over. She knew all too well that customer complaints, particularly when they involved claims of discrimination, could torpedo a store's reputation in a single evening. Sarah moved toward them with polished professionalism, the sound of her heels echoing on the marble floor. "Is everything all right over here?" Sarah's voice was a practiced mix of authority and genuine concern, which prompted Emma to immediately start explaining. "This gentleman was inquiring about our FIPE collection, and I was just clarifying our pricing policies." Marcus then turned his attention to Sarah. "I'm looking for an anniversary present, and I was hoping you could show me the Nautilus model." Sarah's eyes did a quick, practiced scan of Marcus's outfit. The worn jeans, the generic hoodie, the scuffed-up sneakers. She registered the backpack and his overall casual appearance, but her expert eye also picked up on something Emma had completely missed. It was his confident posture, the way he held himself, and the understated quality of the watch on his own wrist. "Of course, sir," she offered. "We would be delighted to show you the collection. I should let you know, however, that handling a piece like that requires a significant deposit up front." "How significant?" Marcus inquired. $25,000. On the live feed, the viewer count ticked past 200, and the comments began to pour in. "This is so uncomfortable. Why can't they just let him look?" Another read. "That store seems shady." Marcus just gave a contemplative nod. "For an item of that value, that sounds perfectly reasonable." Sarah blinked in surprise. She had fully expected the deposit amount to make him back down. He was treating this as a routine business matter. You have that kind of money available right now? Would you prefer I pay in cash, or should I set up a wire transfer?" Marcus asked, letting the question hang in the thick silence. Sarah felt a pang of doubt, realizing she might have completely misread him. But she felt bound to support her employee's judgment, and something about his unshakable confidence was deeply unsettling. His phone vibrated in his pocket again. This time the screen flashed with the name of his private equity partners. Marcus declined the call, but not before Sarah had already seen the caller ID. The tension in the shop was now thick enough to cut with a knife, as other shoppers began to sense the unfolding drama. The TikTok viewer count jumped to 847. Someone else launched an Instagram story captioned, "Beverly Hills boutique drama is going down." Marcus glanced at his watch, 2:54 p.m., with 6 minutes left on the clock. "So," he said calmly, "may I please see the watch?" Sarah just stared at him for a beat, her 15 years of experience in the luxury world screaming at her to make the right call. The truly wealthy rarely looked the part anymore. Tech billionaires lived in hoodies, and oil heiresses went shopping in yoga pants. But this whole situation felt wrong. "Before we can bring out inventory of that value, I will need to see a form of identification and a credit card." As Marcus reached for his wallet, eagle-eyed viewers on the stream might have noticed it wasn't a standard billfold. It was a sleek leather case that looked to be custom made. He slid out a solid black credit card, the type rumored to have no spending limit, and placed it on the glass countertop. Emma reached for it. A flicker of surprise crossed her face as she read the name engraved on it. Marcus A. Johnson. The card felt heavier than usual, forged from metal with elegant, subtle embossing. "I'll have to verify this," Emma said, her voice now stripped of its earlier condescending tone. "By all means," Marcus replied, looking at his phone once more. It was 2:55 p.m. There were 5 minutes left. While Emma was in the back processing the card, the Rodeo Watcher's TikTok live stream exploded to 2,400 viewers. The comment section was a waterfall of text. "Something huge is about to happen. Why are they treating him this way?" one user asked. "Plot twist incoming," wrote another. "This store is so problematic." The other patrons in the boutique could feel the escalating tension. A well-dressed woman by the handbag display discreetly raised her phone to record. An older gentleman, who had been shopping for his wife, paused his search to take in the scene. The store had become a stage, and everyone was anticipating the climax. Sarah's phone buzzed with an alert from the store's corporate oversight system. The notification flagged unusual transaction activity. Any purchase of that size automatically triggered security monitoring. Marcus stood there serenely, his hands clasped behind his back, while he examined the other watches on display. His whole demeanor was professional, almost meditative, and yet his posture suggested a tightly coiled energy, like a panther waiting to strike. Emma returned from the verification terminal, her face pale. "Sir," she began, "it seems we're having an issue processing the payment." "What kind of issue?" Marcus asked, his voice perfectly even. "The system has flagged this transaction for additional verification." He simply nodded. "That's common for larger purchases. Would you like me to phone my bank?" Sarah quickly intervened. "Sir, perhaps it would be best if we scheduled an appointment for you later in the week. Our security policy mandates," Marcus smoothly cut in, "I only have 5 minutes. After that, I have another meeting to attend." The TikTok stream's clock showed 2:56 p.m. as the viewer count climbed to 4,200. This bit of luxury retail drama in Beverly Hills was blowing up in real time. Mike Torres, the man on security, took a step forward. His cop instincts were blaring, but he couldn't pinpoint the threat. The black gentleman hadn't elevated his tone, made any threats, or behaved improperly in any way. Even so, the entire scene felt charged with menace. "Ma'am," Mike murmured to Sarah, "perhaps we should—" Sarah sliced through Mike's attempt, speaking directly to Marcus. "I'm going to need you to exit the store. You're making the other shoppers uneasy." Marcus calmly scanned the room. The other patrons were certainly staring, but their faces conveyed a mix of curiosity and empathy. A number of them seemed unsettled by how he was being handled, not by the man himself. "Can you tell me precisely what I've done to disturb anyone?" Marcus inquired. Sarah's jaw went rigid. She was in too deep now. To retreat would be to admit she was wrong. "You are interfering with our standard business. By requesting to see some of your items? By continuing to ask after you've recited your policies?" Marcus glanced at his phone. 2:57 p.m. 3 minutes left. A new voice joined the fray. "Pardon me, but this whole thing is absurd." A young woman, likely in her mid-20s, came forward. "He has done absolutely nothing out of line. Why is it so hard for him to see a watch?" Sarah whirled to face her. "Ma'am, I must ask you not to get involved in a store security issue." "A security issue?" The woman scoffed in disbelief. "He wanted to look at a timepiece." Other shoppers began to voice their agreement. The room's sentiment was turning against her, but Sarah felt cornered by her own initial actions. Conceding her mistake at this point felt like professional suicide. Sarah gave Mike the signal. It was a subtle hand motion they used for calling the police, but Mike found himself hesitating. Nothing in his training suggested this called for law enforcement, and yet his boss was clearly pushing things to the next level. The audience on the TikTok live feed jumped to 6,800. Comments were pouring in too fast for anyone to follow. "Get the manager. This is blatant discrimination." Someone make sure you're recording this. Where is the owner? This is about to go nuclear. Marcus took out his phone, checking the time again. 2:58 p.m., 2 minutes to go. I have to be somewhere in 2 minutes, he stated calmly. Are we going to see the watch, or should I spend my money somewhere else? Sarah's cheeks burned with color. Sir, I am asking you politely one last time to leave. Please don't make me escalate this. I am not the one making things difficult. I'm a member of the public in a public store asking to view merchandise. Security, Sarah shouted. Mike Torres moved forward, his reluctance obvious. Sir, I have to insist that you exit the premises. Marcus met Mike's gaze. And on what grounds would that be? Mike fumbled for a justification. You're creating a scene. How exactly am I creating a scene? The live stream's viewership rocketed to 8,900. Somebody had shared it on Instagram, where it was now spreading like wildfire. The hashtag Madison's Karma began to trend in the comments. 2:59 p.m. Marcus looked at his wrist, not at the plain digital watch he wore, but at a magnificent timepiece that finally snagged Sarah's notice. It was a Vacheron Constantine, an item worth more than a typical car. 1 minute, Marcus said under his breath. 1 minute until what? Sarah shot back. Marcus offered no reply. Instead, he unlocked his phone and tapped out a fast message. Ready for the 3 p.m. meeting. I'll see you upstairs. Sarah's brow furrowed. Upstairs? Sir, there's nothing up there except 3:00 p.m. Marcus looked Sarah right in the eye. My appointment. I appreciate this demonstration of your customer relations. It's been quite informative. He started for the exit, then paused. Oh, and Sarah? You probably want to refresh your corporate inbox sometime in the next few minutes. I hear there's a meeting you need to attend. As if on cue, her phone started vibrating wildly with alerts. Her face turned ashen as she scanned the first email. The subject read, Emergency Board Meeting, Conference Room B3, 3:00 p.m., regarding incident review. The TikTok audience soared to 12,000 as Marcus strode calmly out of the store. Wait, Sarah cried out, but he was already gone, the glass doors swinging shut behind him. A hush fell over the boutique, broken only by the chorus of buzzing phones and the distant chatter of thousands of online viewers who knew they'd just seen something unforgettable. Sarah just stared at the black credit card that was still on the counter, the dawning horror hitting her that she had just committed a career-ending blunder. On the sidewalk, Marcus Johnson glanced at his watch one last time before making his way to the elevator that serviced the corporate headquarters above Madison's luxury shop. The true meeting was just about to start. With a quiet chime, the elevator doors slid closed. The lobby's security feed captures him selecting the button for the executive floor, a sanctuary most Madison's employees had never laid eyes on. The timestamp on the video reads 3:01 p.m. Down on the sales floor, a disaster is unfolding in slow motion. Sarah's eyes are glued to her phone, rereading an email that simply doesn't compute. Emergency board meeting, conference room B, 3:00 p.m. PMR. The name of the sender makes her stomach clench. It was Marcus Johnson, CEO of the Johnson Investment Group, versus one very unhappy and very mistaken agent. That's not possible, she breathes. Nearby, Emma Rodriguez is frantically hammering Marcus Johnson, CEO, into her phone's Google search bar. The first thing that pops up is a Forbes article from 6 months ago with a headline that steals her breath. Tech mogul Marcus Johnson broadens retail portfolio. A $2.3 billion investment firm is now targeting the luxury market. The accompanying photo is of the exact same man who was just shown the door. Her hands tremble as she scrolls through the article. The Johnson Investment Group had recently acquired a controlling interest in 17 high-end retail locations across Beverly Hills and Manhattan just this quarter. Sarah, Emma's voice cracks with strain. Sarah, you need to look at this. But Sarah is already sprinting towards the back office, the frantic clicking of her heels echoing on the polished marble floors. She has to pull up the corporate directory to confirm that this escalating nightmare isn't actually happening. The TikTok live stream, which is still active with 14,500 viewers, perfectly captures Emma's dawning horror at Rodeo. A watcher zooms in, sharing Emma's phone screen and the Forbes article with thousands of people in real time. The comments section explodes. "No freaking way! Plot twist of the century. She's so fired. Oh my God, he owns the place. Karma is a real thing." Mike Torres observes the spreading chaos with a professional's eye. He's witnessed his share of corporate train wrecks during his security career and knew how to recognize one as it was happening. "What the hell is going on?" he asks Emma. With shaky hands, Emma shows him the Google search results on her phone. "The man we just removed. He's the CEO of the Johnson Investment Group. They hold the lease on our building." Mike's face drains of all color. "They own our what?" Meanwhile, 3 floors above the chaos, Marcus Johnson strides into conference room B. The floor-to-ceiling windows provided a clear view of Rodeo Drive, and he could see the Madison storefront where a small crowd was now forming, their phones pressed to the glass, hoping for a glimpse of the drama inside. Marcus casually places his backpack on the polished conference table, taking out a laptop. The bag's worn and faded exterior stood in sharp contrast to the high-end piece of technology he slid from it. He launched a secure video conference application. At precisely 3:03 p.m., 3 screens around the conference room blinked to life. "Marcus," a woman's voice echoed through the speakers. "I've been monitoring the live stream. That was quite the demonstration of your customer service." A faint smile touches Marcus's lips. "Patricia, I believe we have everything necessary for the legal review." Patricia Wong, the chief legal counsel for Johnson Investment Group, materialized on the center screen. 47,000 viewers and still climbing. The footage is remarkably thorough. On the second screen, the director of retail operations, David Kim, was shaking his head. "In my 30 years in retail management, I have never seen behavior that blatant." The third screen displayed Robert Madison himself, the boutique's founder, patching in from his yacht anchored off the coast of Monaco. His tan complexion was a mixture of confusion and a rapidly growing sense of dread. "Marcus, I'm not following. Why didn't you just tell them who you were? All of this could have been prevented." "Could it have, Robert?" Marcus opened his laptop, his fingers flying across the keyboard. "Let's take a look at some of the data." The main screen now displayed a presentation titled Madison's Boutique Customer Service Analysis Undercover Assessment. "For the last 6 months, my firm has been methodically evaluating all of the properties within our retail portfolio." Madison's was slated for its assessment today. Marcus clicked to the following slide, which was filled with various charts and graphs. The customer satisfaction surveys have been showing some very disturbing patterns. Complaints regarding discriminatory treatment have surged by 340% in the past year alone. More specifically, customers of color are reporting negative encounters at a rate that is 87% higher than that of white customers. Robert Madison's expression hardened. "Marcus, those must be isolated incidents." "Are they?" Marcus questioned as he moved to the next slide. An analysis of security footage from the last 3 months has revealed 23 documented instances of unequal treatment based on a customer's appearance. Today's event brings that total to 24. Patricia Wong leaned into her screen's view. "Marcus, please show them the legal consequences." The presentation then shifted to a legal brief. California Civil Code Section 51.7 expressly forbids discrimination in any business establishment. The federal penalties under the Civil Rights Act can be as high as $150,000 for each incident. With 24 documented cases, we are now facing a potential liability that exceeds $3,600,000. The color drained from Robert Madison's sun-weathered face. "This can't be right." "Oh, it's perfectly right, Robert. Every second was captured by your own security cameras." Not only that, but today's little spectacle was streamed live to an audience of over 50,000 viewers, and that number is still climbing. David Kim interjected, "Marcus, what does this mean for the lease?" Marcus gave a slight nod. "The most important question, David." He switched the presentation to a new slide. Section 14.3 of the Madison Lease Agreement stipulates that any discriminatory behavior serves as cause for immediate termination of the tenancy. He let the words hang in the air for a moment. Yesterday, Johnson Investment Group acquired this property. The deal was closed at 5 p.m. sharp. That makes us your new landlord, effective this morning. The stillness in the room was absolute. The shock was tangible, even across the video conference links. Yesterday? Robert Madison's voice was barely a whisper. Yesterday, which means today's little incident happened on an asset we own, by employees whose conduct we are now legally accountable for. Patricia Wong's monitor populated with a new set of documents. The liability goes well beyond a simple lease violation. We are now staring down the barrel of potential civil rights litigation, insurance claims, and reputational harm that could poison the entire Johnson Investment Group portfolio. Getting up, Marcus walked over to the window. Down on the street, he could see Sarah pacing inside the boutique, a phone clamped to her ear. The group of people gathered outside had gotten bigger. The stream had been shared 12,000 times in the last 10 minutes. David Kim reported, "It's already trending on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter." The hashtag Madison's Karma is the #3 trending topic in Los Angeles. Marcus turned his attention back to the screens. "Robert, your annual rent comes to $2,100,000. Your profit margin for the last fiscal year was 23%. Your insurance provider will almost certainly raise your premiums by 340% after they see this footage. The cost of legal defense alone is going to start at $500,000. He advanced to the presentation's final slide. "This brings us to the decision you need to make today." The screen displayed 3 choices. Option 1, immediate termination of your lease. The store closes in 30 days. Option 2, we proceed with legal action. That means a 2-year court battle, all of which becomes public record. Option 3, a comprehensive reform package coupled with public accountability. "What is option 3? Robert Madison asked, his voice subdued. "A complete overhaul of your operations, new management, mandatory bias training, monitoring diversity metrics, public progress reports, and a $100,000 donation to civil rights charities. And if we agree to option 3, the lease is honored. The lawsuit is stayed, conditional on your compliance. And maybe, just maybe, we can stop this from happening to another person." Patricia Wong added, "But Robert, you need to realize that picking option 3 is an admission of systemic failure and your acceptance of continuous oversight. This is about more than just money." Marcus glanced at his watch. It was 3:12 p.m. As we speak, your store manager is searching online for how to get unemployment benefits. Your sales associate is in the bathroom in tears, and your security guard is busy updating his resume. He stared directly at the screen displaying Robert Madison's face. The question here isn't if you can afford option 3. The real question is whether you can afford not to. Outside, the TikTok live broadcast had just hit 89,000 viewers. Major news organizations were beginning to report on the story. Someone just put up a Wikipedia page for the Madison's Boutique discrimination incident. Marcus held his phone up to the camera to show them. "Oh, and Robert, TMZ just called. They're looking for a comment on a video they're calling the luxury store racist meltdown." Robert Madison squeezed his eyes shut. When he opened them again, his voice was thin, broken, and defeated. What precisely does option 3 entail? For the first time since he had arrived, Marcus Johnson allowed himself a small smile. "I'm glad you asked." Marcus Johnson pulled up a new presentation. On the screens, a detailed plan appeared under the title, Madison's Boutique, Comprehensive Reform Protocol. Option 3 is not a mere suggestion, Robert. It is a meticulously crafted system that targets every single thing that went wrong in your store today. Patricia Wong displayed a set of legal documents on her screen. Before we go over the terms, it's crucial that everyone here understands the full scope of your current liability. She put up a federal compliance document citing Title 42, USC, Section 1981, which outlaws racial discrimination within contractual agreements. Damages can consist of both compensatory and punitive awards. Recent California cases have seen judgments averaging $275,000 per incident. David Kim brought the focus back to the numbers. Marcus, show them the revenue impact report. Marcus switched to a slide showing a detailed financial analysis. Madison's boutique currently generates $9.1 million annually, but our demographic research reveals you are capturing only 34% of the available market share in Beverly Hills. The numbers tell the story quite plainly. Your customer base is 89% white, 4% Asian, 3% Hispanic, and a combined 4% Black and other. The demographics in the Beverly Hills area have shifted. The population is far more diverse now, with substantially more spending power. Because of your reputation issues within communities of color, you are forfeiting $4.2 million in annual revenue. Marcus kept talking as Robert Madison's face on the screen glitched, a clear sign of his yacht's unstable internet. There's no way those numbers are right. Robert, that data came directly from your own POSO system. We also cross-referenced it with census data and consumer spending reports from the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco, David Kim said, as he pulled up more charts. Your Yelp reviews, Google ratings, and an analysis of social media sentiment all paint the same picture. A steady decline over the last 18 months. And today's incident just poured gasoline on that fire, making the drop exponential. Marcus rose and walked back to the window. The gathering outside your store has swelled to about 50 people. And now the local news crews are showing up. In just the last 20 minutes, your ratings have plummeted from 4.2 stars to 2.1 across every platform. The hashtag Madison's Karma has already been shared 47,000 times, Patricia Wong interjected. Robert, I have to let you know, we've already been contacted by 3 different civil rights organizations. They are looking into filing formal complaints with the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing. 3 different groups? Robert's voice faltered. The NAACP Legal Defense Fund, the Southern California ACLU, and the Anti-Defamation League. With that video out there, their case is rock solid. Marcus returned to his chair. This leads us back to the only real choice, option 3, a complete structural reform. He clicked to the slide breaking down the requirements. Immediate actions to be completed within 30 days. You will terminate Sarah, the store manager. You will suspend Emma Rodriguez, the sales associate, until she completes her training. You need to set up a system for reporting bias incidents, bring in a diversity and inclusion consultant, and install technology to monitor customer feedback. For medium-term changes, within 90 days, you'll overhaul your hiring practices to include diverse interview panels, a mandatory 40-hour bias training for every single staff member. You'll also form a community advisory board and launch an anonymous system for customer feedback. We will also be tying performance reviews to metrics based on inclusive service. And for long-term accountability, over the next 12 months, you'll provide quarterly diversity reports to the Johnson Investment Group and undergo an annual civil rights compliance audit. This includes a $100,000 donation to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund and establishing a $50,000 annual diversity scholarship. You'll also create a public dashboard that tracks your inclusion metrics. Robert Madison stared at the list. The financial burden alone is staggering. Marcus simply nodded. The donation and scholarship add up to $150,000. Training and consulting will run you around $75,000. And implementing the new technology will tack on another $50,000. That's $275,000 in the first year alone, Robert said, thinking out loud, which is a fraction of the $3.6 million in potential federal fines Patricia Wong added, and that's before legal fees, insurance hikes, and all the lost business. David Kim then pulled up some comparative data. Robert, the other stores in our portfolio that went through with similar changes saw their revenues climb by an average of 28% within 18 months. Marcus reopened his laptop. Let me show you what winning looks like. The screen changed to show several case studies. The Johnson Investment Group has turned around 3 similar properties in just the last 2 years. Customer satisfaction scores soared by an average of 67%. Revenue jumped 31%. Staff turnover plunged by 45%. He highlighted specific examples. Prestige Jewelry in Manhattan posted its most profitable quarter ever, right after they rolled out inclusive service training. Luxury Leather in Chicago managed to grow its customer base by 89% in just 1 year. Robert Madison's resolve was visibly crumbling. What about oversight? How do we prove we've met your standards? That's the right question. Marcus switched to a slide outlining the monitoring framework. We'll have independent third-party audits every 6 months. There will be customer satisfaction surveys that analyze feedback based on demographic breakdowns. We'll also be sending in mystery shoppers representing all demographic groups to evaluate their experience. Patricia Wong added the legal details. Compliance will be judged by concrete numbers. Customer complaints must fall below 0.5% monthly. Your customer demographics must be within 15% of the area's population, and all staff must complete the bias training with passing scores. And if we don't hit these targets, Robert asked. The lease has performance clauses, Marcus replied. A first violation costs you a $50,000 penalty and triggers intensified oversight. A second violation means we terminate the lease with a 60-day notice. At that point, David Kim showed him the alternative. Robert, option 1 is immediate closure. You'd lose $2.1 million in yearly revenue, not to mention paying for liquidation. Option 2 is digging in for 2 years of legal warfare, public hearings, and a non-stop cycle of bad press. Marcus glanced down at his phone. The live stream's view count had surged past 127,000, and CNN had just dropped a headline. Viral video captures apparent discrimination at luxury retailer. He angled his screen, letting the cameras capture the damning headline. Entertainment Tonight was already requesting an exclusive interview, and the Beverly Hills City Council had just called an emergency session to address discrimination in high-end retail. The weight of it all seemed to crush Robert Madison, his shoulders slumping in defeat. This was spiraling completely out of his control. You're right, it is, Marcus conceded. But with the third option, you get to write the story. Instead of being cast as the villain in this discrimination narrative, you can become the forward-thinking business leader who chose reform over refusal. Patricia Wong laid out the public relations angle. In the eyes of the media, choosing to comply is a world away from being forced to. Taking initiative now will earn you positive press, Marcus added, rising from his chair to pace the room. Robert, my goal was never to tear down your company. I brought this to light to solve a deep-seated issue that's damaging your profits and our entire community. He stopped at the window. Take a look out there. Those aren't protesters with signs. They're holding up their phones, recording history as it happens. The only question now is what version of that history we're going to create together. David Kim glanced up from his tablet. Marcus, I've got the mayor's office on the line. They need to talk about the incident, and the governor's task force on civil rights is asking for a formal briefing. Patricia Wong chimed in as Marcus pivoted back to face the cameras. Robert, the clock is ticking. You have about 6 hours before this explodes into a political firestorm across the state. Once that happens, your choices narrow considerably. For a long moment, Robert Madison shut his eyes. And when he finally opened them, his voice was just a whisper. If I take option 3, what's the immediate next step? Marcus returned to his seat. We schedule a joint press conference for 6 p.m. sharp this evening. You get in front of it, announcing a sweeping, voluntary reform package. We sell it as decisive leadership, not a panicked reaction. As for the legal exposure, Patricia Wong took over. Johnson Investment Group will agree to pause all civil proceedings contingent on you successfully completing the reforms. It's a clean slate, and the media narrative, David Kim finished the thought, is ours to control. It stops being about a scandal and starts being about accountability and embracing a new direction. Marcus's gaze locked directly onto Robert Madison's image on the screen. Robert, this is your opportunity to define your legacy as the man who stepped up and did the right thing when everything was on the line. For a full 30 seconds, Robert Madison's eyes were fixed on the ceiling of his yacht cabin. The silence was broken only by the faint, muffled chants of the crowd outside and the low drone of the teleconference equipment. At last, his eyes met the camera. Show me where to sign. At 3:47 p.m., digital signatures materialize on compliance agreements displayed on 4 separate screens. From somewhere in international waters, Robert Madison's electronic authorization made the Madison's Boutique Reform Agreement legally binding. Patricia, get this filed with the California Secretary of State right now, Marcus commanded. David, roll out the press release sequence. It only took minutes for the fallout to ripple down to the boutique floor. The corporate termination email landed in Sarah's inbox at 3:52 p.m. The wording was terse and legally airtight. This notice confirms your immediate termination from Madison's Boutique, resulting from documented discriminatory actions toward a customer on June 30th, 2025. Your final paycheck will be issued according to standard company procedures, with deductions for incurred training expenses. In the back office, enveloped by the scent of luxury perfume and stacks of inventory, Sarah just stared at her phone. A 15-year career in retail management, gone, all because of a 15-minute lapse in judgment. Emma Rodriguez received a different kind of notification: mandatory, unpaid suspension pending the completion of a 40-hour bias awareness course. Reinstatement was conditional on passing the course and surviving a probationary review. She read the terms from inside a stall in the employee restroom. Tears traced paths down her cheeks, the endless scroll of hateful comments from the live stream finally coming to a halt on her screen. The TikTok clip had now cleared 189,000 views, as a third notification found its way to Mike Torres. It was a formal, written warning, citing his failure to de-escalate the situation with the customer. He was now required to complete 20 hours of conflict resolution training within the next 30 days. At 4:15 p.m., Dr. Amelia Harrison walked into Madison's Boutique. She was the diversity and inclusion specialist that Johnson Investment Group had on retainer. Her resume boasted a Ph.D. in organizational psychology and a past career as a federal civil rights investigator. Dr. Harrison's first order of business was to place temporary customer feedback tablets at each service counter. The questions on them were direct. Did our team make you feel welcome today? Was your service both professional and respectful? How likely are you to recommend our store to others? By 4:30 p.m., the devices were already painting a clear picture. Out of 12 afternoon shoppers, 8 had given their experience a subpar rating. Written feedback mentioned things like, the staff appeared anxious and unfocused, and you could feel the tension in the air. In the meantime, Marcus Johnson's legal team was operating with pinpoint accuracy. At 4:45 p.m., they sent out official notices to key civil rights groups, detailing the new compliance agreement and the timeline for all the reforms. The NADACP Legal Defense Fund was given a comprehensive breakdown that covered the settlement's terms, the promised changes, and the procedures for oversight. That $100,000 donation was earmarked to support their economic justice project, which specifically targets cases of discrimination in retail. Copies were also sent to the Anti-Defamation League, outlining the entire anti-bias training curriculum set to be rolled out across the entire store. This was a 40-hour course covering everything from unconscious bias and cultural awareness to practical skills for inclusive customer service. Then, at 5 p.m. precisely, Marcus called for an urgent all-hands meeting inside the boutique. 7 employees assembled, their anxiety palpable amidst the glittering crystal chandeliers and opulent displays. He started simply, "My name is Marcus Johnson, and I'm the CEO of Johnson Investment Group. As of today, we own this building, and we have serious issues with the customer service incident that happened earlier." The staff shot nervous looks at each other. By this point, the viral video had made its rounds. "Starting right now," he continued, "we are rolling out a complete overhaul of our policies, designed to guarantee that every single person who walks through that door is treated with professional respect, no matter what they look like, their race, or how much money they seem to have." Marcus then laid out the new ground rules. To keep standards high, secret shoppers would be coming in to evaluate the service every 2 weeks. These shoppers were set to come from all walks of life, representing a wide range of backgrounds and styles of dress. How employees performed on these ratings would be tied directly to their job reviews and pay. On top of that, a new community advisory board was being formed to go over customer complaints and recommend changes. This 7-person board would have members from the Beverly Hills NAACP, various local business groups, and other community-based organizations. A completely anonymous reporting system was being put in place so that both customers and staff could report any discriminatory actions without any fear of comeback. Any report submitted would automatically launch an investigation within 24 hours. And the new training was starting immediately. Every single employee was required to finish the bias awareness training before they could resume their normal work. And a passing grade of 85% or better was mandatory. Job performance would now be judged partly on inclusion metrics, meaning customer satisfaction ratings had to hit specific demographics across different demographics. Staff members could even earn bonuses if they maintained excellent ratings from all groups of customers. By 5:30 p.m., the very first secret shopper walked in. She was a young black woman, dressed down in casual attire, with a well-used backpack slung over her shoulder. She moved through the store without a word, putting the new service standards to an immediate test. Jennifer Walsh, the sales associate still on the floor, went over to her right away. "Good evening. Welcome to Madison's. Is there anything in particular I can assist you with today?" The whole exchange was being captured on hidden cameras to be used for future training analysis. Jennifer's tone was perfectly professional, and her posture was open and inviting. For 20 minutes, she showed the shopper different items, never once asking about her budget or how she planned to pay. In the end, the mystery shopper gave the experience a 4.5 out of 5 stars. At 6 o'clock in the evening, a joint press conference kicked off in the store's main showroom. Marcus Johnson was there in person, while Robert Madison joined via video call to speak to the gathered press. "What happened today was a complete and unacceptable breakdown of our customer service standards," Robert Madison admitted from his yacht. "I accept full responsibility for it, and I've already set immediate corrective actions in motion." Marcus followed up, stating, "Johnson Investment Group is dedicated to making sure the world of luxury retail treats every single customer with dignity and respect. The progress of these changes will be tracked transparently, and the results will be shared with the public." The press conference resulted in an instant wave of positive media attention. Headlines everywhere were saying things like, "Luxury store owner accepts blame after viral discrimination clip," and "Tech CEO's undercover visit sparks major retail reform." By 7 p.m., the feedback tablets inside the store were already showing a noticeable shift in results. Customers shopping that evening gave their visits an average of 4.2 stars, leaving comments like, "The staff was incredibly attentive," and "I felt so welcomed and respected." While the TikTok video was still spreading like wildfire, the narrative now had a resolution. The account Rodeo Watcher posted an update. "Store owner just announced major changes after viral discrimination video." Now this is how you take accountability. In 30 days' time, independent auditors were scheduled to confirm that all the new reform policies were being followed. The demographic data of the store's clientele would be reviewed every month. Employee performance reviews would now factor in inclusion metrics right alongside their sales figures. and a $50,000 annual scholarship program was being launched right away. It was created to help students who were aiming for careers in business ethics and civil rights law. The scholarship winners would be chosen by the Community Advisory Board. Meanwhile, a public dashboard went live on the Madison's website, showing real-time customer satisfaction scores, even broken down by demographic groups. For the luxury retail industry, this level of transparency was absolutely unheard of. To address the root issue, Dr. Harrison initiated weekly sensitivity workshops, where role-playing exercises became the primary tool for helping staff uncover their own unconscious biases. These training sessions immersed employees in realistic scenarios that featured customers from every conceivable background and situation. From the sidewalk, even after a month, the boutique appeared unchanged, with its signature crystal chandeliers still casting a brilliant glow. And while the luxury merchandise continued to gleam inside polished glass cases, a quiet but systematic effort was underway to dismantle the invisible walls that had made customers like Marcus Johnson feel so unwelcome. Marcus Johnson had made a deliberate choice to pursue reform rather than revenge. He leveraged his considerable influence not for destruction, but to forge sustainable change that would endure long after this single incident faded from memory. The very security cameras that had recorded the entire event on June 30th continued to roll, but now their footage documented a story of transformation, not discrimination. 6 months later, the view from Madison's boutique revealed a business that was utterly transformed. Customer satisfaction ratings had skyrocketed to 94%, a massive jump from the 67% recorded prior to the incident. This wave of positive feedback swept across all demographics, with both Black and Hispanic customers reporting a 93% satisfaction rate, nearly mirroring the 95% from white shoppers. The story told by the diversity metrics was nothing short of remarkable. The store's clientele now reflected the local Beverly Hills population to within 8%, consisting of 52% white, 23% Asian, 15% Hispanic, and 10% Black and other ethnicities. By successfully attracting these previously alienated market segments, the store's revenue had surged by 23%. Emma Rodriguez, after completing her bias training, returned to the team as an associate manager and now consistently achieves customer service scores that rank in the top 10% across every demographic. She gives full credit to the training program for opening her eyes to subconscious behaviors she had never before recognized in herself. I came to realize that assumptions I always considered normal were actually creating barriers. She now shares with new hires in their own training sessions. Now, I make a conscious effort to approach every single customer with curiosity instead of judgment. In the back conference room at Madison's, the Community Advisory Board holds its monthly meeting. Board member Dr. Angela Washington, who serves as the local NAACP chapter president, points to the store's turnaround as definitive proof that businesses can opt for accountability over defensiveness. The entire episode involving Marcus Johnson has since become a central case study in the ethics curriculum at Harvard Business School. His guest lecture, titled "Dignity as a Business Strategy," regularly attracts standing room-only crowds of MBA students who are eager to learn how applying social justice principles can lead to profitable growth. The Madison's model has since spread its influence far beyond the confines of Beverly Hills. A total of 47 luxury retailers across 12 different states have voluntarily put similar accountability frameworks into practice. Today, the Madison's protocol is widely recognized across the industry as the gold standard for delivering inclusive customer service. Across the Johnson Investment Group's retail portfolio, stores that implemented the comprehensive bias training have reported average revenue increases of 31%. The business case for fostering inclusion had been validated by undeniable financial returns. The viral TikTok video, which has now been viewed over 2.3 million times, is frequently used as educational material by business schools and civil rights organizations. It stands as a testament to how one individual's courage in documenting injustice can serve as the catalyst for systemic change. Marcus often reflects on that June afternoon, saying, "They looked at what I was wearing and made a judgment about my value. But I looked at the situation and saw a chance to change an entire industry. That is the fundamental difference between reacting and responding." Those same security cameras that once recorded an act of discrimination now document thousands of positive and respectful interactions each week. A flood of customer testimonials heap praise on the welcoming atmosphere and courteous service that now define the new culture at Madison's. Sarah, the manager who was let go, is now employed by a small retail chain in another state. After completing her own intensive bias training, she now advocates publicly about the critical importance of acknowledging unconscious prejudice. Her experience now serves as a powerful, cautionary tale of how quickly a career can be undone by discriminatory behavior. The $50,000 annual scholarship has provided support for 12 different students dedicated to studying civil rights law and business ethics. The scholarship recipients are also given internships at Johnson Investment Group, gaining firsthand experience in how to weave social justice principles into thriving business practices. Most importantly, not one customer has reported an instance of feeling unwelcome or discriminated against at Madison's boutique since the new reforms were implemented. These real-world results prove that the courage of a single individual can indeed transform entire systems. Marcus Johnson's experience is one of countless stories from the Black community where discrimination was answered not with surrender, but with a strategic response that created profound and lasting change. His journey has joined a growing library of inspiring narratives that show how ordinary individuals can generate extraordinary impact when they choose to pursue accountability over anger and reform over revenge. Model. Have you ever been treated unfairly while shopping or just out and about? Your story has the power to spark real change. Drop your experience in the comments. Hearing what you went through gives others the courage to demand fairness. Follow us for more true accounts of regular folks taking on and fixing broken systems from the inside. Pass this video along if you agree everyone is worthy of respect, no matter how they look. Together we can make prejudice too costly for any business to afford. If you were in Marcus's shoes, what would your next move have been? Would you have shown your cards right away or used it as a chance to educate? We want to hear from you below and get this discussion going. This is about making smart moves that force change rather than simply having an angry outburst.